If you want to display data on a dashboard that everyone in your organization can see, Google Data Studio is a great solution. So today I am going to talk about Google Data Studio, and I'm going to actually help you go through and build your first dashboard. I'm going to help with planning tips, tricks for how to go on and learn more. So let's get started. The first thing I like to do when I'm in Google Data Studio is look at inspiration. The best way to learn about what people are building is to just get a sense of what they're doing. So here I am in the Data Studio gallery, and you can access it by Googling, just Google Data Studio gallery, and you can see some different examples of what people have built. I'm going to show a couple of my favorites. I like this one just because it shows just how creative you can get with different background colors and gradients. It's like, this is art, basically. And here is an example of a client that I have. Here's just a very basic high-level marketing funnel, and then a little bit of a different view based on marketing spend this month, and then yet another view that is more important for executives to get a glance and get a sense of, hey, what's going on with the business so far. So there's also, I really recommend datastudio.google.com/gallery, and the best way to get a sense of what you want to do is you can literally search for different things. Like if you're a YouTuber, you can just take a look at what is it that someone else has. So one of the most common mistakes with people who are just getting started with this kind of thing is that they just want to put every single number that they can possibly think of on their Google dashboard. And that's usually not the answer. Instead, you want to really take a step back and say, what is it that I would like to learn about the business at a glance? There's someone who's really, really good at this, and I really recommend his work. Edward Tufte, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's great at getting you to think about, what is it that I want to see fast, and what is it that I can observe quickly and give me what I want as quickly as possible. So the gallery is a great place to find inspiration. I've given you a few examples, so let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is go to datastudio.google.com, and you're going to want to sign into any one of your Google accounts, and then you can click create, and I usually just start with a report. So it starts by saying, what is the actual information that you want to push onto this dashboard? And so you can have a bunch of different connectors. For example, in this report that I showed you, we're bringing in Facebook spend, Google Ads spend, that kind of thing, and we're blending the data together to create single displays that are more synthesized for what we need. In your case, if you're just getting started, you might start with just one connector or two or whatever you prefer. But basically, there are 19, as of time of this filming, different sources that you can add. And there's also a bunch of different partner connectors as well. So I work a lot with Shopify direct-to-consumer e-commerce clients, and so my actual preference is Supermetrics. I'll put a link below the video in the description so that you can try it out and get a trial, and I think I can get you 20% off. So yeah, this is just, if you are working with a lot of different sources of data, this is definitely a great resource. But basically, you want to start with, what is the information that I want to get? And for now, I'm going to click out of that and start with a blank page, because I want to show you the interface and talk a little bit about strategy. So here is the default canvas, you could call it, for any Data Studio report. And it's by default this size because that is, in essence, if I were to just view this, it's a really easy to consume way to, like, it's good for a smaller computer, basically. You can add different pages, and I'm just going to do a little bit of interface overview, and then we'll talk about strategy and how to get actually building. So then you can undo or redo, and then that add data, that's what we were talking about before. And then once you have a source, say you're putting in Google Analytics, you can add different charts, you can add shapes, and you can add controls, which are like date pickers, for example. And then, basically it's a little bit like MS Paint. So that is the basic interface. In this case, I want to connect a Google Analytics report. So you would just click there, Google Analytics, and then if you have a bunch of different Google Analytics accounts, they will be listed on the left, and you can pick whichever one you want. And then you would click into the property that you want and just click add. So boom. This basically, in that, 5 seconds, we now can view anything about Google Analytics any data that you can get from analytics, you can now push it onto this report. So that's really powerful. And again, I go back to that tendency to say, I want to put it all, every single number. No, because the reason why we don't log into Google Analytics every day, or our boss or whoever wants this dashboard, is because it's overwhelming. And so before we actually just start dropping a bunch of different things here, I like to just take a moment and plan. So I say, okay, what is it that I want to learn about this business? So let's just start with the very beginning. In the very beginning, I treat my data studios like almost like a PowerPoint presentation, or again, MS Paint. So I know that I want to say what business this is, and I know that I want to have a date picker so that someone can see different date ranges, even though it's going to default to a certain date range. And I know that I want to see a sense of, or I want to see in general, and that I just copy pasted like with my keyboard command. I want to see, how many visitors are coming to the site. This is an e-commerce site, so I actually want to see how many people added to cart, and I want to see how many purchases. I want to see AOV, average order value, and I want to get a sense of products sold. And gosh, I want to see how people are coming to the site. So I don't know if you noticed, but in the gallery there are, so let's see, there are a bunch of examples, and here is an e-commerce revenue template. And the cool thing about gallery is you can see everything. The maybe not cool thing about gallery is some of the templates are paid. I know this company, I think they charge, like, I've seen their templates for like $150. So you can, if you want, model what you're doing off of what you see if you don't want to buy a template. Or you can just go get a template, connect your data, and call it a day. It's all up to you and what you prefer. So in this case, let's just go back. I'm just going to close these and let's go back to the report. So we're starting to get a sense of the things we want to see. And of course, if you're familiar with any of the Google products, you probably want to name your report. So Bonnie Jennifer, e-commerce marketing, let's just say. So we have a sense of kind of the data that we want. Now let's look at the aesthetics of it. You know, what do we want it to be? Dark? Do we want it to be anything like that? And one cool thing actually is you can upload a URL or put an image. So I'm just going to go to that website and I'm going to take the URL of one of the images on the site, I think. And let's see, their site, I'm actually going to take one from Google. Here we go. Copy image address. Hopefully that's a JPEG. It is. So you can just truly upload and boom, we have colors that match our site. So you can customize that with, you know, basically however you want. Get as much or as little into that as you like. And yeah, so then layout, this is about, you know, let's just say, usually I say initially hidden, and then nav. Like this is basically just what does it look like. So if you wanted to do a portrait instead of a landscape, or you can do a custom, but just landscape is, as I was saying before, kind of the computer default. And then you can do a grid or smart guides. This is basically just helps you, I don't know if you see those red lines, it helps you kind of get a sense of design. And then if you want to ever get back to that, you saw I was here and this right sidebar changed, but if you want to get back to it, you just click into the main canvas, and then you can change your padding or your settings for your grid. If you're familiar with InDesign or any of those things, that will be very familiar for you, or you'll understand that. If not, don't worry about it. It's basically just saying, you know, how do I measure where things are on the canvas? So we have a sense of how to have our canvas, and we have the data that we want. We know what's most important to us. I'm going to give you some examples of how to get started with these things. I'm going to give an example of, you know, 1 or 2 tables or charts, and then I'm going to let you loose. And if you have any comments on the bottom or in the comments, just let me know. So we have the theme and layout done. We have the data that we want, and now let's add a control. So remember how on here I said that I wanted a date picker? Basically what we're going to do now is just start doing, like, adding the things that we wanted. So the date range, I want to see, you know, the auto date range, it says what is the default of what you're going to see when you click into this dashboard. So I want to see this month to date. And then I get a sense of what that looks like. Or another popular one is last 30 days. Actually, I'm going to do last 30 days. And you can include your today, or you can choose not to include your today. Today is obviously more real time, but it also may muck up your data a little bit, because obviously if it's early in the morning, you're going to have lower numbers than later at night. I'm just going to add today because. So once I finish a component, what I'll do is I'll delete the text, and then I'll replace it with an actual with the actual working component. So then let's say I wanted to put a logo on there. This is what's really cool. Let's see, images, and you might have an actual logo, but I'm kind of going on the fly here. I'll have to maybe look for a different one, but for now, let's just add this. So you can just literally drag and drop any image that you want onto the canvas, which is really cool. And so now you can see how we're kind of becoming little designers here of this dashboard. So I'm going to take that and boom, I deleted it. And you can see that red line is helping me line everything up nice and centered. So I don't like that white, and so for the purposes of this, demonstration, I'm just going to add a rectangle. Again, I'm just trying to give you a sense of some of the more common features that you might want to use. So, oh no, it's, in the front. So you would just sort of like a PowerPoint, order, send to back. And the background of that, I don't want it to be that brown. I'm going to make it white so that this logo and everything shows up there. And, now you have a little bit of a header and you can add a shadow if you want that kind of current look. And then, if you ever click off of something and you want to click back onto it, just click back onto it, and you can add a border. Basically, that's up to you what you want to do. You can make it semi-transparent if you want. And then if you ever want to undo, you can Command or Control Z, which is just a standard keyboard, or undo, redo. So now you have a sense of design, headers, adding images, date pickers. Now it's up to you to, if you wanted to embed a URL, if you wanted to say you had some sort of, sometimes it's restricted, but sometimes you can add, let's just see. Yeah, I think not very many people let you embed, but I have done that before where the front page was different for something, and so the URL was embedded. Images we already did. You can, upload like we did or by URL. Controls, I'm just going to give you a couple more ideas. If you wanted to do a to-do list or something like that, you could do a checkbox. And so this here is the data source. So when you get this, it basically means this isn't connected to anything, right? It's not, it's not, what would I say? It doesn't know where to get the data from. So it gives you that weird thing. So you would have to know what you want to configure. And if you have an error, you just click into learn more and you can get a sense of what it is that you want. And so another control, they have sliders, basically whatever you want. Shapes we went through, and now we're going to start adding data and charts and all of that. So you're actually once you're this far, you're pretty close to being a Data Studio builder. So when you want to add, right now we've connected Google Analytics. So when you want to add something to the dashboard, you would click this add a chart. And this is where you're going to spend probably 90% of your time. So I like to do, totals, or these scorecards is where I end up spending most of my time. Let's say, for example, geo was something that was important to me. I wanted to know where people were coming from. I could, write that or add that, and you would get a sense of where people are coming from. And so then if you want to refine any of the charts, you use that right-hand sidebar. So this basically says we're getting this information from Google Analytics, all website data, which is what we configured in the beginning. And then the field here, by default, it's country. But and then you can choose, okay, I don't want country. I'm actually more interested in, because we only ship to the US, I want to know city, right? And the metric would be, and so the metric would be not new users, but let's say, so if you wanted it to be new users, it could be that, or you could play around basically and see what happens. So returning I don't want just new users. Let's see. I want, your list won't be as big because you probably don't have as many like different what do you call it, different connectors already in here. So we just changed it not from new users, we changed it to all users. And then by default here, it was last 30 days, and that's because we did that there. But and that means auto, but if you wanted, you could change it to custom, and you could make this deviate from that top right. Best practice is not to do that. The reason why is because when someone comes into your Data Studio report and dashboard, their context, they usually think, okay, what am I looking at? And unless something is clearly labeled as different, it should be in sync with the rest of it. So I like to try to not mess with that and just tell people, if you want a different view, use the date picker and change everything so you're not looking at one number out of context from all the other numbers. I hope that's helpful. And then if you wanted, you could add a segment. So segments, you might know, it allows you to look at, say, not all users, but just purchasers, or you can look at different types of traffic. So if I wanted to look at not all users, but all organic users, you could use that segment to narrow down what you wanted. So then, let's see, what else here? And same with filters, include or exclude, and then you can say, so I've never done this, but I just want to see what happens if I only say US equal to So that's kind of interesting. It looks like I filtered out some sort of country. There we go. So sometimes, like, I actually haven't ever done this particular map. So I would just like, how to add map, Google Data Studio, United States only. I feel like this is the only way to get good at Data Studio. So if you want me to actually do that, I don't want to spend time right now, but if you want, I can do that in another video. And then let's play with another chart. So I use these scorecards a lot, and I use time series a lot. So time series, this is going to show me, okay, we launched the site on April 27th, and then this is we can see all website data, again, from Google Analytics. The date is this here. The range is automatically last 30 days, include today, right? And then you can add a comparison. So what I like to do again is set up kind of a best practice. So I would do previous period, and then if I chose that instead of a year-over-year comparison, you always stick with the previous period. And then you can filter and add segments, but then you're just getting a sense of, okay, last 30 days, what was my website traffic? And then I'll do an example here of new users, or I could change it, like just by clicking there. So what if I wanted to see how many people are that, there? Everyone is new because it's a brand new site, but you're going to see the two different lines, and then you can have different organic searches. So how many people came from organic search? 76. And if you wanted to see kind of like a how many total, you could just, again, okay, 6 new users, 76 came from organic search. So you're getting a sense of kind of what it is that we are getting at here. I'll do kind of one more example. Again, let's say here I wanted the number for transactions. So we know that we've made, since the site launched, 5 transactions. And again, like, you can go through product checkouts. Oh, so sometimes you're going to get like a like it won't quite connect for you. Okay, revenue. Boom. So we know that we've made 5 transactions and we've made $700 since we launched on April 27th. Another way to look at that, if you wanted, instead of like that, would be a scorecard, would be a time series. So again, you would just, you can control by month or day. I'm going to do date. And instead of transactions, I might do revenue, right? And then boom, I have revenue for the last 30 days. So you can start to get a sense of, when is that revenue coming in, that kind of thing. Here, this was that default one that we had come in, and it's showing what is the page that people are landing on when they're, or where are they going when they come to the site. So, if you could change that to destination URL. Oh wait, no, because that would be where they would be going. Let's see. So yeah, not set just means it's not there. Page. So you could group your content in Google Analytics, but we haven't done that. So yeah, so we're getting kind of a little, you can see how this is turning into something. Of course, it's still messy because I don't want to spend too much of your time. If you want, I'll film another one where we take something to completion. But something else I want to also share is, if you have a chart and you want to change every time, the chart will be by default, it will go with the color scheme of what it is that you have created. But you might not want that, right? So I might want to change the table colors so that, that's purple, and it's totally up to you how you want to do things. The label you might want it to be really big. And you can change the typeface. I mean, it's looking really bad, but who knows, right? And then another example, so let's go to the style tab of data and then style. And once you're clicked in, if you want to hide that metric name, you always can. And you can say, you know what, I don't want that to show up. Literally, which is really interesting. Or you can make it a little bit, or I can say, the background is transparent, and I want to add a header here, transactions. And if, let's say I wanted to get nitpicky, I can center that and then put that there. And then that style, I can center that too. So, there we go. That's centered, and that gives us, a bit of that grid styling. So you can really, truly design this however you want. And even if I wanted, I could put a circle there and send that circle to the back and have that, any variation makes something stand out. Not that you want it to stand out like that, but you could, right? If you ever want to. So now you have a sense of what to do. Again, I really like to take other inspiration from other dashboards, and I would basically just keep going down the path until I had a sense of, until I knew that I had what I have here. This is a little bit of an ugly dashboard here, but I love it because I get a sense in the marketing funnel of our micro conversions, how much we've spent on ads, and then okay, we've gotten 88,000 people to the site last month. 3,000 of them added to cart, and these here, that's the conversion rate. And then what were they adding to cart? So the skinny fat is the most common, and then how many of those 3,000 people actually made a purchase? What's the conversion rate? What's the revenue per user brought to the site? What's the AOV? And what device are people purchasing with? And then where are the cities where people are purchasing from most often, and how much, or actually this is, what are the cities that are bringing us the most revenue, not most often. Because that would be, instead of revenue, it would be that transaction number instead. So I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions or want to talk Data Studio or want me to film any other videos, just let me know. I'm happy to help, and enjoy, have fun.